Welcome, everybody. This is Taylor Sharp, and welcome to the FM Pug Dallas chapter group. We are ready to rock and roll for January 2024. So myself and Greg Price are the chapter co-coordinators. Big announcement, a month from now, we've got Engage coming. So that is the annual FileMaker Developers Conference that has not happened annually for a long time. So we will hopefully be diving in, going to Austin to see what the Apple campus is like down there, and looking forward to getting back to a little normalcy hopefully here. So it's going to be a different experience doing it on an Apple campus and not in one big hotel like we've done in the past, but hopefully it will be a good experience. I hope many of you are coming. If you haven't, they posted about a week ago, they were down to the last 100 tickets. So if you want to go, you better sign up quick. Tickets are selling out fast. So other announcements, looking around in the room here, anybody else have any other announcements that you can think of?
If you do attend Engage, be sure to attend my sessions and Eric's sessions.
Okay, Heather and Eric from Harmonic have sessions, so promoting getting to check their sessions out. So I will definitely be at Heather's. So
Well, Eric's is going to be pretty interesting. I don't remember the exact title, but it's a great title. It's about debugging thread pulling and the enigma of something or another and the art of thread pulling.
there we go. It sounds interesting. Have to check Eric out on it. So. Okay, well, today we have Michael Wallace is going to be our presenter. He's been a friend for a while and a longtime user group member and a professional FileMaker developer through several companies and now his own one, Empowered Data or Empowered DDS? Empowered Data Solutions, that's right. So, but our topic today is artificial intelligence and ChatGPT with FileMaker, and so this is leading edge stuff here. So we're looking forward to get all learning about that. So, Mr. Wallace,
talking about AI, and of course that's a very hot topic right now, and for good reason, because it's literally changing our world, like in real time. And there's a lot to talk about. I have some stuff that I lost some work from a corrupted file, so I had to rebuild a bunch of stuff. But I had more to show you than I could show you anyway. So who am I? Well, I've been working with FileMaker since just after the bad old days of FileMaker Pro 6. So that kind of makes me a new kid on the block. So many people have been working with FileMaker since FileMaker 2 and everything like that. But I'm glad to have started when I started with relational databases and everything like that. So I've been programming since I was in grade school. My brother and sister would go to the children's section of the library and get books, and I'd go over to the computer programming section and get some books on computer programming. I got my start in FileMaker with Richard Carlton Consulting at RCC, and worked with him quite a while. I was a senior developer for him, and then I went out on my own a little over 5 years ago, and with Taylor nudging me that direction, and Richard Carlton, always like to sing his praises. I mean, he did something that I've never even heard of anybody doing, and he actually called all the customers that I was working with that were his customers and said, I can assign a new engineer to you, but I recommend that you stay with Michael. And so I got a golden parachute from him, and my feet haven't touched the ground yet. So
That's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, it
It
is.
says a lot about you.
But it also says a lot about Richard Carlton, so that's why I always like to mention that, because it was very, very obviously generous of him. And then I code for fun, so that tells you more about me than probably what you should know. I'll get done working on FileMaker and stuff. After a long day, I'm tired, and I said, "Oh, I want to do some coding." And so, what is AI? AI is a branch of computer science that aims to create intelligent machines capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence. This includes learning, problem solving, and decision making. So different components of AI are machine learning, which enables systems to learn and improve from experience; natural language processing, which helps machines understand and respond to human language; and robotics, which we're not getting into, which involves creating intelligent machines that can perform tasks autonomously. So, just something interesting that happened recently. ChatGPT actually got lazy. In December, I'm going to tell you, I told Taylor about this, but starting around December, a little bit before, it started doing things weird. Like it was saying, like, "I can't do that." I'm like, "Yes, you can. You just did that for me." And I literally would tell it. I would get in arguments with it and said, "Yes, you can. You have this ability. Go do this. Stop being lazy and go do what I said." And it would say, "Okay," and then go do it. And the theory is that some theorize that it's following the trends that's seen of people winding down for the holidays. And it's these people like start getting lazy around Christmas time. And so it just, we'll see as we get into January here, if it picks back up again or what what's going on. But I thought that was interesting that, how it picks up little nuances. And unfortunately, it can be us, which can be a bad thing. So with there's already been issues with AI showing itself to be prejudiced and different things like that because it's picked up bad habits off the internet. And so they try to be very careful about the data, garbage in, garbage out. So 2023 was a crazy year when it comes to AI. And I'm just going to let this run through. You're going to have to pay close attention to this because there's a lot that happened in 2023. And I tried to point out a couple things here, but I'm just going to let this thing scroll. So ChatGPT becomes the fastest growing consumer app in history. Microsoft invests $10 billion in it. There's a new Bing. Hugging Face goes with AWS. South Park shows up on ChatGPT. Cancers treated. Pope Francis is harangued through AI. They discovered a new planet. There's a spinal cord surgery. 100,000 users for ChatGPT. Potential with brain cancer. A brain plant that allows AI to make people talk. Autonomous track drones, which are not necessarily the greatest thing. Then Sam Altman was fired and hired again. Microsoft invests $3.2 billion in AI, and then OpenAI talks to raise about $100 billion for valuation, and then the New York Times sues OpenAI and Microsoft for copyright infringement. So there's just been, and that was just the things I read off. Obviously, there was a whole lot more. You can go back and watch the video and slow it down, but there was a lot that happened in AI, and those are just key points. So I've heard people talking a lot, is AI going to replace us? And throughout history, there's always been technology improvements. There's been, in fact, I'm sure you probably heard this, but sabotage, the word sabotage comes from that exact scenario where there were people in Holland and that area, Dutch, were worried because water mills, being new technology, were grinding flour and like that much faster than what they could and like that. So they didn't like that, so they threw their wooden shoes called sabots into the machinery to break them, hence our word sabotage. And but so it's been around for a long time. Here's another picture of this guy right here. Is a job called a knocker-upper. And he used to go around and tap on people's windows to wake them up before alarm clocks were a popular thing or whatever. So there's always going to be changes. There's always going to be things, and it does get scary. I mean, Google just came out and announced 30,000 possible layoffs as AI improves their operational efficiency. So I mean, the layoffs and things like that are a real thing, but it's not, we're not going anywhere. We're just going to change what we do. And, like I said, we're going to have more interesting jobs. We're going to have more fulfilling jobs because you're not doing the grunt work, just like some guy walking around with a stick tapping on people's windows. You can get a lot better job than that. And so the fear is unfounded because people adapt. Everything that has happened with different technology that's come along, we've adapted, we've moved along, and it's made our lives better. I'm not saying there's not a negative side or a possibility of a negative side with AI and it being misused or whatever. But so as a FileMaker developer, why should I care about this? And I would say that FileMaker and I are made for each other. And you can tell I'm using images that were created by ChatGPT. But it's a natural connection, and on top of that, it's just the way things are going to be going. It's going to be the new norm. So and we have so many ways that we've tried to get from our customers, how do you want this? What do you want to see? What is our output? What is it? What is the report? What kind of report? What fields do you want on our report? Okay, you want another report that's almost exactly the same, except for it has just one extra field on it, or you want it sorted a different way, or whatever. And the thing about it is that as things move forward, how we're going to generate reports is just we're just going to ask for what we want, and it's going to just provide the things. And I had a lot further demo that I'll show you. Part of what I had to rebuild, but introducing a new programming language, English, and that's how we're going to be communicating with computers as communicators. Instead of us having to learn their language, like I started when I was in grade school, now they're learning our language, and so we can communicate with them. Now there still are nuances to that. Now they'll get better and better, and those nuances will diminish over time as they understand us more and more. But how many of you have worked with ChatGPT? Okay, how many of you have and I can't see the online here, but how many of you have like an advanced account where you pay for it? You do? Because there really is a huge difference between ChatGPT 3.5, which you get for free, and then I think it's $20 a month, and which is, I would pay 10 times that almost for what I get out of ChatGPT, especially with 4.0 and beyond. But so prompts are the way that we communicate it. I think I jumped ahead as far as like who's used ChatGPT, but prompts are simply what you're putting into like ChatGPT in order to get information out. Now I know that you've probably asked some questions of there if you've used it at all, and got something back like, what? In fact, I was looking, especially during December, I told it to. See, what was it? It was programming language. I said, give me a visualization of the programming languages for web and how they have progressed, like over time or whatever. And it gave me this chart, but it was like all over the place. I was like, that's not right. And I just simply said to ChatGPT, you made that up, didn't you? He said, yes, I did. It admits when it does something, but there are things that are called AI hallucinations is what they call them, where they're made to be creative, And sometimes they're creative when they shouldn't be creative, and they make stuff up. And so you have to check your facts, and you have to make sure that you're running on what what makes sense. So I do want to talk about what kind of makes up a prompt whenever you're asking. A lot of times people will just start with a task and they'll say, okay, I want to do this, and say, when was the World Series of, what was the date of the World Series in 27?
We make the following session description sound more enticing.
Right. Yeah. Whatever you want to, as far as your session or your programming, I'll get into them. There's a lot more that you can do with it as well. Context is another way that you can add another layer to it, where you are saying, I want some extra, here's some background information about what I'm saying. So in other words, like I'm presenting to FileMaker developers who are, some of them know some of this information, some of them don't. How do I present? So you give them more information. You can do examples. So in other words, like you say, if I was presenting on this, then I would want something like this, wording. Then you do another example. If I was presenting on this, then maybe this kind of wording. And that helps it to get the flavor of what you want. You can have it adopt a persona. You can tell it, you are a master marketing, mogul who just is really good. And you'd be amazed at how much difference you get when you tell it that it's skilled in this area. You just tell it it's skilled in this area, and all of a sudden it's much more skilled in that area. And it does better recommendations and such. A format, you want to tell it what you expect, how you expect it back. Do you want it as a paragraph? Do you want just a very short answer? Like sometimes a quick answer about a function. What's the format of this function? And it starts giving me this giant 3-page thing. So I've put into my ChatGPT a restriction, say if I ask about something related to a function or like that, give me the least amount of information that you can. So that it just says, here's the function information. But sometimes you can ask for it in, for example, in JSON, and it will come back in a JSON format, so you can use it somewhere else. And then the tone. So what is the intended sentiment or the tone of the output? Do you want it to be silly? Do you want it to be happy? Do you want it to be professional? So I want to go over, here's an example prompt I have here. It said, you are a seasoned FileMaker developer who prides himself on his longevity in the business. You will answer FileMaker questions accurately, but with a bit of sass and sarcasm. Your assumption is that everyone knows less about the subject than you do. Respond in full sentences, but be brief and to the point, other than quips. Responses should be less than a paragraph. For example, the user asks, what does the mod function do? Response, what do they teach you kids these days? In FileMaker, it is FileMaker's way of reminding us that we have to deal with leftovers as well as upstarts. And so as you can see here, I have it broken down. You have a task, which is actually a pretty small part of that. I have a persona there that tells them who it is. I have an example down at the bottom that tells what kind of, what do I want back from that. And I have the format, about how long I want it, and the tone about it being sassy and sarcastic. And I'm actually going to show this prompt to you running, and it follows pretty well with what you want with that. But that is a completely different prompt than answer a FileMaker question. And you will get a completely different answer. But it goes much, much, much further than that. There's a lot of different types of prompting that you can do that will get you more and more information. For example, providing a chain of thought. So you have the AI, either you provide a chain of thought, say, first you want to do this, and then you want to do this, and you want to do this, or you have the AI give you that chain of thought. And it says, tell me how you would accomplish this, and give me the steps, and then follow those steps. And And you can also go through iterative refinement. If you work with GPT, you probably do that all the time. You just put in something, say, no, that's not what I want, and make it more like this. Few shot learning is like the one that I talked about where it had the example there, only you may have 2 or 3 examples of how you want it to respond. And you'd be amazed at how quickly it picks up that information and responds like you want. Contextual prompting, we talked about context already. Scenario simulation, like putting it into a particular situation and how it wants to respond like that. Multi-step reasoning and role playing. So putting these two, matching them together, you get even more power. Like chain of thought and iterative refinement. You can take complex problem solving where each step is clarified and refined through a follow-up process. Or you can have few shot learning where you give it a few examples and then you also give it a context around that. But through one of my favorite techniques is collaborative specialist role-playing prompting. It's what I've come to call it, and I haven't had anybody else name it from what I've found. But in this approach, the LLM is instructed to assume the roles of multiple specialists, each with their own distinct viewpoints and expertise. The model then stimulates a discussion among these specialists where they list steps to solve a problem, debate the merits of different approaches, and collectively decide on the best course of action. Finally, each specialist contributes to accomplishing the task, and the model synthesizes their inputs to choose the best answer. It will literally do all of that. And for example, here's a long prompt that I put in just to test to see if I wanted to kickstart a project proposal. And I want to put in this information. So this is what I put. Sorry, it's a lot of reading in here, but there's a lot of words when you're working with language-based models. So it says, I'm going to provide you with 5 personalities that you will cycle through as you collaborate among all of them to accomplish the task. Sam is a jovial, personal salesman who succeeds by forming solid relationships with his clients. Clark is a diligent and exacting accountant who works hard to make sure the books are balanced and everything is documented perfectly. Sue has been with the company forever and knows a little about everything, but takes a more laid-back approach about the documentation in general, but tends to focus on what's really important. Tom is the CEO and largely focuses on high-level overview to make sure the plan will succeed in the long term and make sure that it's sustainable among all of the employees. Pam is a recent business college graduate that has fresh ideas and believes strongly in having a good plan. You will become each of these personas, creating a task list individually, and then discuss it as a team to consolidate it into the best breakdown for the following goal. Create a step-by-step flow for how to formulate, document, and design a company timekeeping database that will keep employee time records associated with tasks and projects and give the employees the best UI UX for entering these time entries and invoicing them. And I say collaborate with each persona, reminding yourself of their makeup as you work your way through the whole process. Give me a full proposal for the system and its design to build in FileMaker. So first step is to come up with a to-do list individually and accomplish this, then meet about it. Next, follow the to-do list, meet regularly as you accomplish each step that you determine that you need to do. Follow this individual work with collaborative discussion until you all feel you have a solid proposal for what the system should be like in detail. Then give me the full proposal, including UI, UX, and use cases. So that's a long prompt. But you can see there's a crazy amount of back and forth that it'll do. In fact, I'm going to actually just switch over. That's that same prompt there, and I said, so its response to me was, this is an intriguing and complex task. I'll embody each of these personas in turn to create their individual task list, then synthesize these lists into a collaborative proposal for a timekeeping database system in FileMaker. So it went through and it said, here's the salesman and his priorities, and Clark the accountant his priorities. Sue, the veteran employee and his priorities, the CEO, and the recent graduate. Collaborate, discussion, and consolidate. It went into the next phase here. It says, after individual assessment, the team meets to discuss and refine their ideas. So they agree on the following. And here's the requirements that they came up with in their meeting based on this AI happening right now. And then here's a final proposal with final proposal includes detailed plan for FileMaker-based timekeeping database, focusing on these items here. And I'm not going to go into all detail here. I came back to it, I said, using the personas, generate an example proposal, including descriptions of the UI UX. So here's the proposal that it came up with. And I'm not going to go into all this detail, but it has like feature overviews, implementation plan, budget, resource allocation, and that said list the tables and fields that will be needed. And then it went through and it said has the employees and employee ID, name, department, project, task, time entries, invoices, reports, user accounts, has the relationships here, additional considerations. So generate a comprehensive list of roles and use cases for the system. And it goes through and it starts generating roles, and then it generates use cases so that you can go through and figure out, how you want to test the system, to start developing some tests for how you're going to create it. So it's just way bigger, just on this side alone, than just figuring out, where was pizza created originally? Does anybody have any questions or comments or anything so far?
Have you been able to feed it sort of one of the golden goose features I'd like to see it be able to do with, at least with FileMaker, is to be able to feed it a graph and drill down through all the relationships, or feed it a DDR and have it
so to have it
understand the structure.
Regurgitate the structure to you, or?
Well, just like say if someone was like a new hire or something, or wasn't familiar with the particular part of the system, that you could give it, you could feed it a description, a DDR or some kind of an equivalent of that, or even a graph, and have it interpret that. It does great with text languages. I've used it a lot for that, but I actually to run a FileMaker script. And I've even had it draw me some ASCII relationship diagrams, real basic ones, which it can do. But,
yeah, I haven't messed with actually using the relationship graph. I've done a lot of other kind of stuff with it related to FileMaker.
How would you get the relationship graph into it?
You can take a picture of it and pass it to ChatGPT. For example, I did a test here a while back and drew out a web page on a piece of paper, just pen and ink, and I scanned it in. I gave it to ChatGPT. I said, "Give me the HTML, JavaScript, and CSS for this page," and it did. It generated the code for that page. It worked just out of the box, so it can understand the images and things like that you give it as well. In fact, a lot of times I'll take something, an image of something like, "Hey, I want to do this," and I'll pass it an image, or this is the error that I'm getting, and it'll give me the error. Okay, so because I haven't given it a prompt. So let's see. What is that function for? That function, the unsung hero of FileMaker. It's the backstage pass for your data. Lets you define variables right there in the calculation, making things tidy and efficient. Think of it as your little corner of organized chaos in the wild world of databases. So you can. I've had it come back and get pretty sassy with about you young whippersnapper, you don't know what you're doing, or as you're asking questions. But again, that's all just the all comes back from your prompt and what you get. You get what you put into your prompt. I want to go over some of the lessons learned and the different things like that I have, where we have, how I made my way through all of this, and also kind of where I think that the AI should be where you need to focus when you're looking at AI. One of the first things that I worked on doing with FileMaker, let me just create a new, is I have it's GitHub's Copilot. I have that. Has anybody worked with that? Again, you. But Copilot is, for GitHub, has ingested millions and millions of lines of code. And this was around before the ChatGPT and everything like that, and I've been using it for quite a while. But right in your IDE where you're working, if you do some JavaScript development or whatever, it will just help you code and code right there in it. There's also there's this over here where you can ask it questions now. This is kind of newer, where you can actually ask about the code or paste code in and stuff like that. But you actually don't even have to do that. I mean, if I go in here and I just say function to, let's see, let me make sure because I don't have this as a JavaScript on. JavaScript function to get the the posts from a user's Twitter account given.
You're not sharing that
username.
Central.
Oh, I'm not sharing it. So, just doing this, it presented me with some code. Get tweets, and it has the API for Twitter. It has a username. It has your response to it, getting the JSON, and everything like that. And it will just write code for you. And then when you're, especially if you're already working on something, like you have a JavaScript thing that you want to add to FileMaker or whatever, just a little plug here, I would definitely recommend, if you're looking at getting into JavaScript, one, do this. Secondly, get in with JS in FM, and he has some really good, Jeremy, he has some really good stuff to very easily get you up to speed. He has videos and stuff like that, but he also has some things where you can just run some commands and you can move back and forth between FileMaker and a development environment like this and have it, you do some tests, you can see it live, as you're making your changes, then you hit, run a command and it puts it into FileMaker for you, and you can run it there. And it's very, very, it's honestly, you're kind of out of excuses. I mean, you were already out of excuses here with the I just lost it again. Copilot that is here, but now with ChatGPT, you're even more out of excuses as far as working with JavaScript and that kind of stuff, because it will literally write it for you. And so you just tell it what you want. I mean, I'm not a Python programmer, for example, but that's the other place I went from here is I noticed there's a lot of good Python libraries that work with AI, and Python is the language that works with AI. They also have JavaScript and such that is also another thing, and you can just use curl calls to talk back and forth to like ChatGPT and stuff like that. But when I had a client that when I needed to, I didn't need to, I wanted to. This is kind of like coding fun stuff. But when Taylor's clients are calling, have the database that's just full of images of homeless people that they've been helping. And every time they come in, they take a new picture of them. And so they can see them over time and things like that. And one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to compare those images. I want to find people based on their face. In other words, like, if this is the person, have we gotten them a duplicate record in here somewhere, or they went by Jonathan instead of John, or something like that, and someone didn't do the data entry well enough to make sure. And so I had it right. I had ChatGPT walk me through and write a Python program. I asked it for what libraries I should use. It told me how to do it. I asked it for how to set up those libraries. It told me how to do it. I went through and started adding in the different pieces as it went. I refined it, went back and forth with different things, and it works. It goes through and it encodes the faces with this giant string of numbers that and then it matches based on that. And so then there's another piece that I wrote that goes through and it does the comparison, and it finds the faces that are the same. And again, I've been programming for a long time, but it's just the hobby stuff, and it's not something that with your use of FileMaker, you probably can do Python easier than you can do JavaScript, because Python is meant to be. It's written in a way that's supposed to be easy to read, because that's just its general format. In fact, I'm going to take this same thing here. I want to see if I have. See what it does with. Right here. Let's say a Python function. And let's see what it does. Let's see what it gives me. All right. So. Again, smaller, and it's also, this is, actually that looks like, no, it messed up. This isn't, that's not Python. Python is, one of the main things about Python is it doesn't have the semicolons like JavaScript does. Its whole flow is based on indentation. So if you got, just like in FileMaker, you have the for loops or the if statements, all that kind of, it's indented. That's how it knows where it is in the program, that it's in a loop because it's indented. So that's the whole thing. So it makes you write good code because everything is formatted cleanly. But
I've taken functions or chunks of code that were written in one language, and I will ask it, basically do this in Flutter, do this in Kotlin or Swift or whatever it is. And if it's got working code already, it will just spit out the that other version of it.
Right. And by the way, it works with, like I said, it works with FileMaker scripts. It works with FileMaker calculations. It puts out the FileMaker scripts as text, and so it will indent it and everything like that, and it just looks like a script that you would print. And I'm actually in the middle of a process now where I'm working on teaching it the XML of the FileMaker script, so the FML snippet for FileMaker scripts, so that I can have it say, write this script, and it will write the script, and I can paste it right into FileMaker. And it's a project because I have to give it multiple examples of different ways that this function is used in FileMaker, or this script step is used in FileMaker, etc. But it will absolutely do it. And won't be too long, I'll have that out on the Claris marketplace as well with, so you can go and you just, or comment this script. Take and copy the FileMaker script and say, comment this script, and it will add in the comments in between, add in some white space like that. You copy it and paste it back into FileMaker, and it just works. So all of this is definitely things that we can accomplish to move things along in how fast we're developing and stretch ourselves. The big thing between somebody who uses AI and someone who doesn't use AI is, what can you accomplish? I can get more done, I can get more done faster by using AI than someone with my same skill set can do without the AI. because the AI completes me. As what is it? What is it? You complete me. What was that? Bridget? Yeah, Jerry Maguire. So the and AI completes me. Maybe that should have been my topic for instead. But but having that extra power, and I don't know about you, but whether it's a JavaScript or a FileMaker or a function like that, there's a lot of times that I just don't remember the exact syntax of something or whatever, and that's where this shines, because it will just give me exactly what I want. I describe what I want, it gives me exactly what I want. And then sometimes I'll go through it, and I've had it where I say, here's the paragraph of a script that I want to write, give me the comments that outline that script. And it will come back and give me a chunk of things. I'll copy that, and I'll paste it into FileMaker. I actually have a function I use, like if I go in here, my poor broken code. So if I go in and you add let's see, let me actually get something from ChatGPT real quick. Where is my ChatGPT? Here we go. I'm not even going to change thing here. No, I don't want to do it with him. He's going to be sarcastic. We're going to do a fresh GPT here. What's a quick and dirty FileMaker script that we can write? Not something that's going to hang the moon, but
email.
Okay. So write a script that in FileMaker that will get the.
Well, how about validate the email and then send it, validate the format or something.
Okay.
An
Okay.
email address.
Yeah.
All right. Right. How about let's see. Let me think. Write a function, a FileMaker function that will validate an email, and then use it in a script to validate and send the email.
I'm going to change that. What to write?
Where the
First
autocorrect
word,
me
put
here?
what
Oh yeah,
instead.
sure enough. What?
You said right.
Yeah. Oh, come on. You know what they say? Your ability to type is directly proportional to the number of people who are watching. Say nope. Oh wait, here you go. So here's our function. Is valid email. The parameter is text, and then here's the script. And lots of people are using ChatGPT, so it's a little slow right now. Here you go. So, what's it doing?
It would be nice if you could then cut and paste that into a script in FileMaker.
Again, that's what I'm working on. That's what I'm.
God bless you.
So yeah, so that
That's the sticky point.
that it will, you can take this but the thing about it is you also can just do it. I'm just making a new one here.
I mean, it's fine for let statements and stuff.
Right.
Right.
Um,
Right. But yeah, just being able to drop it into the script workspace would be fantastic.
so I have actually have a.
layout. So create a layout of an invoice with a.
Let's zoom that into. I think I can zoom in the whole thing here. So that's slow, but all right. Nope, I gotta do it on top of here. All right. So I actually have, with the Monkeybird plugin, I actually added a little menu item here that I use all the time, split multi-line comment. And when I do that, it will do nothing now because oh, maybe I have to copy it first. I don't know. I didn't think I had to. Why is everything breaking all of a sudden? I've used this 100 times. I don't know why it's. Oh, you know what? I wonder if I actually turn this off. Settings, plugins. Yep, I turned it off.
Yeah.
That one. It was still in the menu because I had it on prior to that, and I hadn't restarted FileMaker. Come on,
Turn on.
stay on. There we go. I gotta zoom out. Okay. There we go. Now I'll try it. It only does it if I have one line selected. Oh, now I have a bunch of them here. All right, but there you go. So now it's a bunch of different comments so that I can break out a block of text into for Windows users that doesn't show the next carriage return or something like that. But then that also allows me to just go in here and just fill in the code, for exactly what it did. And that's not as easy as just pasting it. But again, I use this also for having it write a block of comments about what I need to do for this script. Then I'll paste that in, space it out, and add in my code in between the comments. And now I have a documented script that I didn't have to do any documentation for. And I can follow the steps 1, 2, 3, 4 as it goes through and tells me what I need to do. So, and you can also, you can do that with other, it's a pretty simple thing to do with XML, where all you're doing is you have a comment that is, the start and end XML tags, and you just kind of take that first one and add it over here, and then put it in between each line break, so that, you have like, you're creating a new comment by breaking up that one every time there's a return character. And I can put that in the my example file and stuff that I do as well. How are we doing on time?
Does nice things for like converting things to JSON or to XML and back and forth.
Mhm.
So those are some nice things.
For what?
For chat.
Oh, ChatGPT. Yeah. Yeah, it can definitely, like, honestly, especially with the code, if you use an assistant, which is something I was really wanting to show y'all, which I'm not going to save these, but I have a section here that, again, I apologize because this isn't running like I wanted to, but when you're using another part of the ChatGPT, other than just a chat that goes back and forth, is what's called assistants. And the API has, you basically create your own GPT that is, you can give it your own instructions and everything like that, and I want you to do it, and that's how I'm working on creating the XML, the thing that will process the XML and everything like that. But on top of that, a really nice feature for FileMaker users, and this is where you need to tune back in if I've lost you. But what it does from GPT is it will return a function so you set up function calls, okay? So you say, their example is you want GPT to be able to reach into your whatever, database, API, whatever it is, with a specific format. And so you tell GPT about that format, and it will decide when to use the right tool. Like these are different agents that I have set up, or they call them assistants in ChatGPT, but they are different ones that I've set up that do different things. And that FileMaker search, I've had it working, but what it does is I have 3 functions that I provided to it. One is get layouts, another one is get fields, and the third one is data API. I just ask it, like, how many sales did we do in December of last year? And it called the first function and said, give me the layouts. And that function is simply, it comes to me in FileMaker with that function. And so I just say, okay, run that script with this parameter. And it gives me back a list of layouts, and I pass that back to ChatGPT. ChatGPT says, okay, now give me the fields for this layout and this layout. And I'll run those through my script and give it back to ChatGPT. And then it comes back with the data API call, the JSON that you need. I pass that directly into FileMaker, and I get the results of that data API call from GPT figuring out exactly what I need to do just by me asking a question. That's where FileMaker really overlaps with ChatGPT, is the ability to call those functions, and those functions basically equal FileMaker scripts. And again, the ChatGPT determines what to call and when to call it. And that's the magic about it, and you can give it 50 different functions. In FileMaker, there are 50 different scripts, and allow the user just to go crazy because you anticipated what they might ask and have ChatGPT answer them as it gets the data from FileMaker. And it will take that data it got from the data API and put it in a usable format and tell them how many sales they got, or whatever it is you're asking. It's not like crazy low-hanging fruit. You're going to have to do some API work with it. You're going to have to do some, looking. I mean, I wrote I'll give it to you, like I said, but I wrote a JSON structure, a schema that I'm giving to ChatGPT that tells it what is the format of an data API call, the JSON that you pass to a data API call. And so it knows exactly what the structure is and nested exactly right for what it needs to create in order to do that data API call. And so it will do it right just every time. When you ask it for a specific data API call, it can find out what layouts you have that you want, and you can set it so that the permissions only lock you to specific layouts, for example, and that way you're controlling which layouts this GPT is going to grab. It's only the ones that you care about, and then it will get the fields that it needs, and it will make the thing, and it'll figure out what it needs to say, and it'll just do it. Of course, if you have a whole lot of data, then you're going to that's going to get slow, just like any data API call. It may bog down on you or something like that. But you can mix that in with doing SQL calls. That's where Taylor shines, is with SQL. But yeah, it will write SQL calls. And who was it? Someone was just talking about. Oh no, you were. I thought I misunderstood. You weren't talking about the SQL stuff. You were talking about FMQL. But yeah, it will write the SQL call that it needs, that it can pass to your script and get, if you want to get like summary data or something like that. This here is what's called LangChain. And LangChain is a library. There's a JavaScript version and a Python version of it. And LangChain takes AIs like ChatGPT and it puts it on ultra steroids. Okay, so the assistance that OpenAI has set up is a step in that direction. This is what everybody's doing in the meantime. So LangChain allows you to chain together multiple AI calls, so that one of them will, for example, take a bunch of text and basically it encodes it. And I forgot the exact terminology for it, but so this is a 3D model of what the encoding looks like. And what it does is in a 3D, and actually more than 3D, in some cases like 15,000 dimensions instead of like 3, it has these encodings that group meanings together. And that's how, when you ask it a question, it understands you, because it's not searching words. And that's the power of what we're moving into, is we're not looking for a match on words or a match on IDs. We're looking for a match on meanings. And it will, for example, if you take and encode a bunch of different novels, which is the image that I had that I was trying to find, it will group, for example, there will be like fiction in one area, and then it'll be like science fiction over here, and it'll have and they may overlap some, but all those little dots that represent the different books or whatever will be in different parts of this universe or whatever. For example, if you were to encode things like dog, cat, horse, tree, flower, bush, those would be in different parts of that thing. So when you go to search for something in an LLM, it encodes your question and puts it in there with all that data and grabs all the stuff around it and brings it back. And that's one of the big things about LangChain. So you can take a huge amount of data, and your question goes in and it throws it in the middle of that, and then grabs what's around it, and then it answers your question off of what was around it. And so that gives it, out of like Encyclopedia Britannica or Wikipedia or whatever, it gives it the information that is like your question. And it's amazingly accurate. And so that is the secret sauce underneath how these LLMs can find stuff in vast amounts of data. Going back over here to LangChain, if y'all, this is Python, and I'm not going to bore you with it, but I actually just downloaded this off the web, and this is Jupyter Notebook. So Jupyter Notebook has Python that you can run like this, or it has JavaScript version you can run like this, and it will run code right here in here. So it said, like for example, it just says my text is what day comes after Friday, and then echo out my my text, and it tells you what it is, and then here's some LangChain stuff here. Here is. Just going to run a couple of these. Here's the chat message. This will walk you through what LangChain is and what it does, and kind of wake up your mind to what's possible. So that is really complex and tedious though, and I have something that's way cooler and easier to use, and that is this right here. So this is N8N. So N8N is a drag and drop thing like, was it Zapier? Zapier, is that right? Yeah. Or like if this then that, or thing like that, or Claris Connect. This is the exact same thing, pretty much, except for the fact that it's free. This is actually running on my server, so it's open source. I can run it on my server, and I can do all kinds of different actions, integrations, including FileMaker, and I can talk back and forth to a FileMaker server. I can do interactions with the LLMs. I can do interactions with things like Pinecone, which is where they store that breakdown of all of that data, and in order to do searches and stuff like that. So I would check out N8N. They're cheap for you to just get an account and play around with it. And then if will probably have some videos and help on how to set this up. This is just a Docker container that I set up that just runs. It's actually running on my Synology NAS, and that Taylor got me to buy, but it's been very helpful. So this is just running there, and I can drag and drop all kinds of different things. I mean, way more than what Claris Connect has, and pretty close to what Zapier or whatever has. All of those things over here that you can drag on the steps to link them together to do something. So this is your version of LangChain, because it has all the LangChain stuff in it, plus 100 other things. This has, there's AI right here, there's AI right here, there's AI right here, and what this one does, I haven't got a file. This right here is just simply an FTP call. It's one of those things I didn't have time to finish, but it does FTP calls to my server. You can get a text document. This will break it down into chunks right here. This breaks it down into chunks, and that uses the AI to do it, because one of the things that you have to remember is context is key in this as well as in FileMaker. Context in AI though is how much information can it process in one window. And so it breaks it down into chunks to allow you to do it, and then it embeds it, that's the word I was looking for, and stores it in this Pinecone database, and then you can chat with it and chat about any kind of document that you had, whether or not it's customers' data, like their database documentation about how to use their database or whatever. All that information, you dump all that information in there. What I started to do with this, I didn't have time, which I'll give you all the video on this, but I actually got yours and Heather's presentations from the last couple of months, and I ran it through GPT, the Whisper AI, and had it encode all that into text. So it gave the audio from the video, and I got it all into text. And you just put it out on you can put it out on my FTP server, and then you can chat with your presentations, and you can say, what did Heather say about what did you call the relationship graph, keeping it orderly?
A monster? No.
No, hygiene. Good graph hygiene.
Good graph hygiene.
Yeah, good graph hygiene.
Yes.
So, so you can ask a question about what they said, and it will go find where within all that text it says relationship graph, and your thing. It puts it into a thing. All the things that we're talking about relationship graph are all over in this little section over here, and then grabs that and pulls it back, and now it actually does the LLM part of answering that question based on that information, and it'll say, well, she said such and such about the relationship graph. And so that's the magic, the secret sauce of this is that, with something like this, you can take a lot of data and put it out there and have it bring back just what you're looking for. What's his name?
I would love to see that, by the way.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do a video, or I'll get everything working, and we'll see if we can have a second run on this with some actual working demos.
Yeah.
But someone else who's doing this, Chris, is it Ippolite? He's actually is in the process of doing that for all of his training videos he's done for like the last 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a collection.
Yeah. And he's making a FileMaker training AI with his voice, by the way. And he's doing that to help to make training where people can just ask it a question out of all of that crazy amount of information, and it will come back with the answer from his training information. And so that is, that's where the things like the Pinecone and the breaking it down, the embeddings. OpenAI has an embeddings API that takes that data and turns it into numbers. That again puts it out into that universe, and you just go fishing, with your prompt into that universe to see what you pull back. And of course, it comes back with a bunch of random chunks from a bunch of different things, and then it uses all that information to answer your question. So, a main thing I want to accomplish out of this, and I'm going to wrap up right here, but the main thing I want to accomplish is to open your eyes and let you see there's a giant world out there. And, as far as what it's, what's capable, where is it going, it's going to get easier and easier to use it. But you can step in the door right now by getting, I feel like I'm selling ChatGPT license, but I would definitely get, start with the 3.5 and play around with it if you haven't. And then once you get addicted to it, then you can upgrade to the other one. But it does a lot of stuff, and this is where, if you're not using this, your competitors will. They're going to be looking. People are going to be looking. I mean, it's the buzzword right now, but it's not just a buzzword. This is where software is going, where people are going to expect to be able to interact with their data with their voice or with which again, very doable with this APIs, or with, asking it a question or whatever.
Have you tried Agnes Riley's new tool?
No. What is that?
So she's created a FileMaker specific ChatGPT
Okay. Nice.
tool. Honestly,
I'll have to look
I
it up.
apologize, Aggie, if you're watching a recording of this, but I can't remember the name of it offhand. But if you look back at her postings on LinkedIn, and you'll find
Okay.
it recently.
Great. Yeah, I'll definitely look for it.
Yeah, I've had the good fortune to speak with her a couple times since she's released that, and I'm excited for her, and
What
I'm
is it?
excited to
The
try it.
responses are a little more, they're more focused.
Uh-huh.
You
Yeah.
know, the language that it
It gives
responds
back
with
more
is
related
more what you would expect when you were talking to a FileMaker developer
Gotcha.
versus
Yeah.
just the entire internet,
Right.
But the responses they're more concise.
Mhm.
I've only dabbled with it, but
I'll have to check it out.
there have been places in the regular GPT where FileMaker's given me a script step that won't execute.
Right.
Stuff like
Well,
that.
it will make up things.
It will
Yes,
I've
it
had it
definitely,
make
it
up
will
scripts,
hallucinate.
steps that don't exist.
And I'll take 90 to 95% accurate because then that's what I don't have to write myself.
Yeah, it's right,
but,
exactly.
but you do have to follow up behind it. But hers is a little more specific responses.
You limit it. Probably what she did was train it with a bunch of FileMaker language and stuff like that. And that's, again, those specific GPTs like that are where things are going, and you can incorporate it pretty easily into your into a customer's stack, and you can also create your own. So you don't have to use ChatGPT if you're worried about their data going out to the internet or whatever. There are LLMs like Llama 2 and things like that have been released and are open source. And you can spin up your own version of an LLM and train it on your customer's data, and that customer will be able to ask whatever questions about the history of their invoices or whatever. And you can do a dump of a bunch of historical data that the LLM is trained, has access to, and then on top of that, have a query into FileMaker for current information. So, all right. Thank you for.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Thank you, sir. So
Very interesting.
we'll see everybody next month.